steps in finance. Okay, admit them all. Finance. Okay, now we can say first of everything, you need to understand question correctly. And then the keywords are important there. Then you need to choose the correct formula, whether it is A or P. You see, there are 4 A formulas, the ones we wrote, and there is a future and present value formula. They are given. Then number 3, after you have chosen your formula, you must have your correct substitution. So the substitution include like which functions, whichever is missing, like there are a few of them. What are there? In normal standard A formula, there is a PIN. And then let me admit those people. And then if it is future or present, there's X now. We are going to do future and present maybe tomorrow. Let's see. And then INN, it is the same thing. And final step is basically you must learn, leaving unknown alone. And at the same time, you have to make use of calculator correctly. Okay, what could be the keywords? Like we have mentioned that, like when the question says inflation, population, that's compound interest. If the question says a compound monthly, so you know it is going to be M12. It can be compound quarterly and stuff. Or straight line depreciation, reducing balance depreciation, simple interest, maybe, you know. We didn't mention hire purchase method. That's basically grade 9, grade 10, we do a lot. In case they ask, maybe while answering a question with P formula, we can give an example about hire purchase. Hire purchase is an idea that you use simple interest as well. Okay. Otherwise, that's all. Like these are the 4 of them. Which 4? There is a simple interest formula. There is straight line depreciation formula, compound interest formula, and then reducing balance formula. And then there are 2, F and P. This F and B, what could be the keywords? So you should know when are we going to use F, the future, or when are we going to use the present formula. It's not a lot of keywords. With a few questions, you can get used to this. If it is a future investment, if it is sinking fund, it is F formula, and if it is a loan or withdrawals, it's P formula anyway. After that, you have this idea. Now, which idea? After that, you got, we are going to use future or present or one of the A formulas. Then you just need to write aside the correct substitution, and you must know what is missing there. So these are the things in the formula. What are they? It could be PIN. Okay, it could be PIN in the A formula, and it could be XIN in the future or present formula. And the last step will be correct use of calculator. What else can we say about correct use of calculator? We can say maybe we have to make the substitution once. Okay, so we must have a substitution once, otherwise we may end up this question. I think we mentioned that before. Let me write that. Round off once. Okay, we can just say, and that round off must be in the last step. Okay, yes, I just unmuted you. So round off once in the last step. That's important, because you may just lose 1 mark. Okay, now if you go through the things from yesterday quickly, so we mentioned A formulas, the 4 of them, and even with the graph, how they increase, why is it a straight line or exponential function? And then you need to know their meaning, what is A, what it stands for, what is P, what is I, what is N. And there is the case of compounded several times. If this compounded several times, like compounded monthly or quarterly or semi-annually or compounded daily, so you can have 2, 4, 12, and 365. What will happen in this case? In this case, we must divide interest rate by those numbers, and we have to multiply the years by these numbers. So, and by the way, N is years in this case, when it is A formula, okay. And then we just had an example of this compounded monthly case. So the interest rate was 7.5%. You write 0.0075 over 12, and it was 6 years. So you write 12 times 6. And now the question, this time it is P missing. Why? So how long you have to, I mean, how much you need to invest so that you can have 100,000 rand after 6 years? You see, that's the question. That's the formula for this question. So as you see here, you need to invest some amount of money so that after 6 years, with an interest rate of 7.5% compounded monthly, after 6 years, you are going to receive 100,000 rand. So that's such a question. So how do we leave P alone? You just divide 100,000 by that whole thing. It's calculator. You see, you need to plug this thing calculator carefully. That's all. And we just mentioned you can't just swap A and P. Write the formula properly and leave P alone. Okay, that's a better way in any method. So simple interest, compound interest, how they increase. We gave this example. And similarly, straight line depreciation, reducing balance depreciation, how they decrease. We gave that example as well. Then in terms of finding I and N, they are kind of more complicated. Now, in the case of a straight line or simple interest conditions, that is kind of easy. Okay, these two examples were the easy ones, like how long must someone wait to grow his 500 rand to 3,000 rand with 12% simple interest rate. So what do we know? Initial money is 500. After finally, you must receive 3,000 rand interest rate. So we know everything except how long and so how many years. So then you can plug into formula, initial amount 500, final amount 3,000. And then interest rate 12%. And use the correct formula. Remember, choose the correct formula. N is not the power. We are not going to divide interest rate by anything. It's not compounded quarterly, anything. It's simple interest, so you just write like that. And then from here, in the simple interest condition, you can open the brackets. I don't suggest, but you better go in this idea of dividing by 500. So you got 3,000 over 506. 6 is equal to 1 plus that thing. You just leave it alone, and then calculator will give the answer. Okay, that's how you solve that question. As you see, we are not going to use root, or we are not going to use log, because it's simple interest, simple formula. It is simple, easy, okay. Or straight line depreciation, that's again, easy one. So the next example was a straight line depreciation. And in this case, you have something for 3,000 rand, and you are going to set it when it gets down to 500 rand. So how long can you use that cell phone? So the book value of cell phone after a while is going to be 500 rand. And the question says it has a 12% straight line depreciation. So after how many years or for how long you can use that cell phone before selling it? As you see, this time your initial amount is 3,000. Your final amount is 500. Why? Because it is decreasing, because it is minus. You see, that's why. So these are important when you are using a correct formula and substituting correctly. It is not always you write the bigger amount in A. This time P is more, A is less. So in the previous example, your 500 grows to 3,000. But in the second example, your 3,000 cell phone decreases, its value decreases to 500. So after A is 500, okay. Previously it was 3,000 anyway, and it's straight line. So you just plug into correct formula, same idea, this time divided by 3,000, 3,000. You see in the previous example, it was 3,000 over 500. This time it is 500 over 3,000. This time it is 1 over 6. And then this is 1 minus 12x, 1.12x, and whatever. You just leave it alone. You know, the rest is just leave it alone. Straight line, a linear equation. How do you solve this linear equation? You can take 1 over 6 that side, that one this side, and then divide it by that. Use calculator as well, but be careful solving such as linear equations. Then we had these difficult conditions, and we didn't have the question, but I can just make up a question. What's happening here? This time you have 500 rand, and for 10 years you are going to invest it. You go to bank, and they tell you after 10 years your money becomes 3,000. So you know you have 500 rand at the moment. You know you are going to receive 3,000 rand after 10 years. You see, those are the things that we are given. We are given A, we are given P, we are given N. What the question is, The interest rate. So what must be the interest rate that makes your 500 rand to grow 3,000 after 10 years? So those are the things that we know. Now, and it's compound interest, by the way. As you can see, it's compound interest rate. So this is the one, it's not straight line. It is not I times 10. So this is more difficult. And in this case, we use root. That's what we said. Okay, when I is missing in a compound interest condition, that's a bit more complicated case. You have to use root. But the first step is same. What was first step? Divide both sides by 500. It is same. So 6 is equal to 1 over 1 plus I to the power of 10. Remember, we don't use log. This is not the log case. I want to get rid of that 1, that 10. So if it were square, you take square root. But if it is 10, then you take a 10th root of 6. So you take 10th root of both sides. So 10th root of right side cancels that 10. So it is 1 plus I. And 10th root of 6 is something. I didn't use calculator. So how do we get I? From 10th root of 6, subtract 1. And times 100%. So that's the answer. That's all. Okay. Now, this is the case where I is missing. And yeah, and there is a case when N is missing. Let's talk about that condition. What's happening here? We can tell the same story. You have a cell phone, 3,000 rand, and it has a reducing balance depreciation rate of 5%. We know the rate, and you want to set it when its value gets down to 500. So after how many years you can sell this phone, or for how many years you can use this phone? In this case, your A after amount is 500, and your previous amount initial value of your cell phone is 3,000, and interest rate is given 5% reducing balance depreciation. These are given A, P, I. And what is the question? How long you can use this cell phone? So this is the formula. Now this is you choose the correct formula. Yes. Reducing balance depreciation, correct formula. Have you made the correct substitution? Yes. Okay, that's the second step, remember. Now, okay, first step, understanding the question. Second step, choosing the formula. Third step is you substitute into the correct formula correctly. And then the last step. From then it is the last step. Just leave N alone or leave I alone. Same thing, divide both sides by 3,000. Never ever open brackets. Okay, let me edit right down there, because that could be a mistake in the previous step. When it is in the previous examples with the simple interest things, you could open the brackets, but when it is compound, never. Okay, let me write it big. Never ever open the brackets. Never ever open the brackets. Yes.
Did you send us these notes?
No, I will send. I didn't. We didn't finish
Okay.
actually the brackets.
Oh, thank you, sir.
Okay, I missed. Never ever open the brackets. Yes.
So then what is 1/6 years?
Because you divide, it's not 1/6 years. What do you mean 1/6 years? So
No,
1/6
because
comes from you divide both sides by what?
okay,
3,000.
log
500.
0.05.
Yeah. So log your base is 0.95, and that is 1/6. So okay, let me show that as well. I think I can. I must have a laptop. Calculator in my desktop. So that's the calculator. Okay, can you see the calculator now? What you're gonna write? Log is this one, 0.95.
We can't see it.
So we can't see the calculator.
Okay, let's share it again. Now it's only the calculator seen now, 0.95, and then over there you can write 1/6. So that gives me 34 or 35 years, man. Hey, it's too much. It gives 34.93. So that's like 35 years you are going to use this cell phone because depreciation rate is too low. Okay, that's the case. Or in the other one, what you can do, how do you write okay, I think it is shift that. So no, not that one, it is wrong. Where is the nth root? Okay, it is shift that. You see, yeah, I write 10th root of 6 and minus 1. And then times by 100 is 19%. You see, 19.62%. So if I just share it again, so that is 19 point, then the calculator gives this answer is 19.62% for the I. We just got it. And that was 34, almost 35 years. It's too long, huh? Anyway, the rate is too small. That's why it could happen. So that's like 35 years. Are you okay? We even got the answers in this way. So that N is over there for I. And this is the answer, almost 35 years. But never open the brackets. What I mean opening the brackets is don't say 500 times because there's a power. Okay, because there's a power. You shouldn't never open the brackets. You must definitely divide everything by 500. So you got 6 here. And you must definitely in the second one times both sides by 3000. So you must get 1/6. See, never
Sure.
ever open the brackets. Yes.
When giving an answer, said 34.95 years.
You can say
Do
that,
you
yes.
round it off, or do you?
You can write it and finally say 35 years. Okay, you can show it is 34 point something and then say it is like 35 years.
Okay.
Okay, now these two questions, just have a look and read. Please, I will just take the attendance quickly. So that two examples are the ones you could use there. It's me. No. Sunny. Okay. It's admitting. Okay. No. Is that the video?
So is the first question over 1 year?
How does it say?
So this is compounded quarterly. So it
Compounded.
triples itself.
It triples itself. How
many
what
years?
must be invested rate compounded quarterly so that an investment triple itself? Yeah, that's good. Let's complete
So
it.
it's the 12/4.
In how many years? In 5 years. Okay. Yes, yeah, years were missing. We can say triples itself in 5 years, for example. Okay. So when you read the question, first of all, what was it? You understand the question. Okay. Second step is the correct formula. You can write the formula. You don't get marks for it, but so it's compounded quarterly I/4 times n times 4. Okay, this is the correct formula you have to use. Then what do we know? Do we know A and P? No. What do we know? We basically know 5 years. N is 5. N is 5. It's years. But then we don't know A, we don't know P, and I is the question. What must be the interest rate? What about AP? They are not given, but they have a relation. What's that relation? That investment triples itself. So you can give a value. You can say I have 1,000 rand, it becomes 3,000. Yeah, you can say I have 1,000,000 rand, it becomes 3 million. 100 rand becomes 300. So it triples itself. So they may ask such a question. You can just say A is going to be 3 times P, because whatever your investment, whatever your P, whatever your previous amount, it is going to become 3P. So that's how we can substitute into the formula. Now I will just write that way. You can say X, 3X, you can say 100, 300, but I'll just write 3P and P. So that's how you can show your investment triples itself. P becomes 3P, okay? And then let's write the rest. 1 plus I/4 to the power of 5 times 4, 20. So this is the correct formula. So what could be the second step now? Actually, from then, it's just leave I alone. Don't worry about P's, because those P's will cancel each other. So what are we going to do? We divide both sides by P. Remember, it's the same story. So we can just divide by P. So it becomes 3 is equal to 1 plus I/4 to the power of 20. Now, that's correct as well. Remember, when I is missing, what do? You take the 20th root. You take root of both sides. Or you can even imagine because in the first questions, you need to know that as well, that idea. What is that idea? We can have we can take 1/20 powers of both sides. It's the same story. You see, we can tell me, let's take 1/20 power of both sides. So I can take 1/20 to the power of that and 1/20 to the power of 3. Because basically 3 to the power of 1/20 is same as 20 root of 3, sorry. It is the same thing. So taking 20 root of 3 is the same as 3 to the power of 1/. Okay, so that's the same story. These two are the same thing I wrote on that side. So you can either take 20 of 3 or 1/20 power of 3. So that is going to give us an answer. What answer? I can say the next step. Oh, that's so thick. So the next step is going to be 3 root, sorry, not 3 root 20, 20 root of 23, I mean, sorry, is equal to 1 plus I over 4. So how do we leave I alone? 1 plus 4 is equal to, sorry, I plus 4 is equal to 20 root of 3 minus 1. So the calculator will give an answer, and then you must times it by 4. Okay, I'll get my calculator. Okay. Yes. So 20 root of 20, you can do yourself with your calculator. Let's see, 20 root of 3, and then outside the root time minus 1. So we must times it by, the calculator gives 0. Don't round off, okay? That's what the thing as well, important thing again. I will just write 0.056467. Okay, don't round off. We're gonna times it by 4, times the answer by 4. It is 22. So I is equal to 0.22586. 69, whatever. Now times by 100, so you got the percentage. So it is 22.57%. That is the answer.
So-
Yes, yes.
In matrix, how many decimal points do we use? 2 or 3?
2 decimal places, but because I am not rounding off in the except the last step, that's why I wrote more. But in the final step, 22.57%.
So,
Yes.
why did we times the years by 4?
Because this is I over 4. Oh yeah, times the years by 4, because this is compound interest. That's the formula. You see, I think it was in this page. Which page? In this page, you see, you need to vent this component several times. You have to times years by 2 or 4 or 12 or 365. So it depends. If this component monthly, you times by 12. But in that case, you divide the interest rate by 12. Okay, you have to do it together. So it can be, say, I can be divided by M, and the years can be divided by M. But it must be the same thing. Either they both times or divide by 2 or 4 or 12 or 365. It's just you will read from the question. If it is quarterly, if it is component monthly or daily, you can get it from the question. Okay, now the next question. Let's read that. So
So-
that is, yes.
So if it's compounded daily, we don't times it by anything.
No, you times by 365.
365.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
But if it just is compound interest, then you don't. You leave it I. You don't times by anything. It is just component.
Mm.
Okay. Now the next one, 4,000 rand is invested with 9% compound monthly rate. Okay, that's clear. And how many years must we wait to have 30,000 rand? So it is not depreciation, not reducing balance depreciation or anything. Is it A formula, by the way? Yeah, A formula, compounded monthly A formula. Okay, we still need to go through with future and present rules, but let's do this. First, now what do we do then? Write the compound interest formula. It is going to be A P 1 plus interest rate compounded monthly over 12 times N times 12. So, and what do we know? We know finally, after amount will be 30,000 rand. Previous amount is 4,000 rand that you invested, and the interest rate is 0.099%. And then N is the question. Okay, how many years? That's the question. So that's all. You can just plug these things correctly according to what you are given. So same story, 30,000 rand is equal to 4,000, and then open brackets 1 plus 0.09 over 12 to the power of 12n. Now remember, we do the same thing first. Divide both sides by 4,000. Don't open the brackets. Okay, I think we wrote it bold enough. So 30,000 divided by 4,000. The calculator gives 7.5. Okay, divide both sides by 4,000. So it is 7.5 is equal to, now what is 1 plus, okay, 0.09 over 12. I'm just checking that.
403 over 400.
Yeah, it is 3 over 400. 0.0075. Anyway, so we can leave it like that as well. 3 over 400 plus 1. So 403 over 400 as well. So that thing you can get from calculator. You can say 403 over 400 to the power of 12n. Now, how do we get 403 over 400? It is that part. Use calculator. How do we get 7.5? You divide 30,000 by 4,000. You see, there's no rounding off so far. Nothing. Now, this is the time you will use log. 12n is equal to log base is base. What is base? 403 over 400. I mean, you don't really have to do this. You can leave it as 1 plus 0.912. You can leave it like that, no problem. But that thing you will write here as it is. Okay. And
Wait, sir.
even this part, you can leave it as it is. Yes.
How did you get 403 over 400?
It is this part. 1 plus 0.9. That calculator gives that thing. Okay. It is this part. 1 plus 0.09 over 12. That gives you this part. As I said, you don't really have to do that, but let me show you, which is the calculator. Can you see calculator now?
No,
No,
still
sir.
not showing.
Okay, then I have to force it like that. So now I could write that in below 1 plus 0.09 over 12. You see, it's not wrong. Instead of writing that whole stuff, instead of 403, you can write this. And on the top, I can write 30,000 divided by 400, or 4,000, sorry. It's the same thing. 269 over whatever. So, or otherwise, you can write the one we have. What is that? Over there, you write 403 over 400. It will get the same answer. And over here, you'll write 7.5. You must get the same answer. Same answer you are getting. It doesn't matter what you write there. I just simplified in one more step. So the answer is 269 over 66. Okay, let's write it. 269 over 60. What was it told me? 269 over 66. Yeah. So that's 12n. We must divide by 12. Remember. So that's equal to. Let me just move it a little bit that side. That's equal to 200
and
okay. That's equal to 269.66. So what is n if you divide it by 12? So I'll do it here now. 269.66 divided by 12. The calculator gives 22.47. So that means 20. You can leave it like that. 22.47 years. Basically, because you have to wait more than 22 years. That means 22 years is not enough to have 30,000 rand. But the question could be like this: how many years must we wait to have? So if I just make a small adjustment to the question, to have more than 30,000. See, if the question says more than 30,000, then your final answer must be 23 years. Okay. That you have to leave it like that finally.
So
Any
would you get a
question?
question? Oh, sir,
Yes.
would we get a question where they like ask for years and months?
And not in this one. In the future and present, yeah, there will be months, but in this one, because n is years here, okay. Like you can't withdraw your money in between somewhere. So they can ask, but not in this A questions. But
So-
you see, I changed the question more than 30,000. That's why your even if your answer is 22.1, you must say 23 years if it says it more than 30,000. Okay. Yes.
So can you just say n must be bigger than 22,7?
N must be bigger than 22.
Like the bigger than sign, can you just put that?
No, because it says years. How many years? Just say 23 years. Actually, then it must be at least how many years? 23 years or 24 years. Because in compound interest rule, you put the money, you can withdraw it after 5 years. After, so you can't just withdraw in the middle of somewhere. You know, that's that will be a problem. So yeah, you better say 23 years because it's asking years. Okay, now, but if the question says after how many months, then you see how many months, then I can tell you, you are right. You need to convert this into years because it's almost 22 and a half years, isn't it? That means 22 times 22 years, 6 months. You can say that. 22 and a half is 22 years and 6 months. Okay, then we were mentioning this while some of you were absent as the steps. What is that? You need to understand the question. Keywords are important. It's compound or population or inflation or future investment or sinking fund. Sorry, loan withdrawals. You know, there are different keywords. You use different formula. And then what else? Choose the correct formula after you got the keywords. You understand what type of a question you are facing now. You need to choose the correct formula. There is 4 formulas for A, the simple, straight line, compound, reducing balance. And there is 2 more formula, future and present formula. Okay, then you choose one of them. We're still gonna do future and present tomorrow. Then the next step, you must have the correct substitution. So correct substitution is what is A, what is P, what is I, what is N, what is missing, what they are asking, you know, like that's correct substitution. And then you need to leave the unknown alone. You must leaving unknown alone correctly. It must be correct use of calculator. You can round off once in the last step. So it may take several steps. You may need to root it. You may need to use log. You know, depends on the question. You just need to be careful in this last step while you are leaving unknown alone. Okay. Now, there is a small difference. I can even mention now so you can remember later on, since we're still gonna do it later. N in years and N in future and present is different story. Okay, so I is the same thing, rate. In both cases, I is rate. But N in A formula is years. We wrote that. Okay. But N in the future or present formula is number of, it's a number of payments. Okay, number of payments. It's not years. Because for example, if you are making monthly payments, and if it is only 20 payments, what does 20 payments? It's not even 2 years. It's 1 year and 8 months. You know, so it's number of payments. That's the biggest difference. The years in A and the years in FMP formula is different. I mean the N. Okay, one of them is for years, one of them is number of payments. That's the biggest difference. And there is X, which is different as well. That is the amount of payment. Okay, amount of fixed payment, amount of fixed regular payment. So we are going to do this slowly from tomorrow. I am just starting what those things mean in F4P formula, so you can see the difference. So the X here is the amount of fixed payment, fixed and regular payment. That is new. And I is same, I is rate. But N is different. Okay, that's the biggest difference. In A formula, it is years. And in F4P formula, it is number of payments. Okay, we're still gonna do that now. But if the question normally grade 11 finance, not F or B dot F or P formula, pure grade 11 finance, there are questions with the steps like you can invest amount of money and then when you during your investment there could be something happening to your money. Okay, so let's say I can just figure out I can just write 30,000 rand invested for example 7 years. Now what happens, you had to withdraw 10,000 rand is withdrawn after for example 4 years. Now and then even the rates can change. For example, for the first 2 years you had what interest rate is rate is what let's say 11% per annum simple interest. Thereafter it is what, let's say 8.5% compounded quarterly. So now how much you will have after 7 years? You see, that's a proper grade 11 question now. Without grade 11 content, you have like a few steps done. So how much will be in the account after 7 years? How much will be in the account after 7 years? So this question is like the last thing before withdraw before future and present. And what is that? So you need to understand properly. So you have 30,000. You see such questions, it is basically the best thing is draw a timeline and write the things like what we had. So we invested 30,000 at the beginning. So it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years. And after 4 years, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. After 4 years, you withdraw 10,000 rand. That's the story. So you invested what? 30,000 rand at the beginning. Your money is growing. But then there's one more problem as well. What's that problem? The rate is changing. For the first 2 years, there's a rate. And then thereafter, there's another rate. Okay. The bank changes that rate. So how can you answer this question then? It requires some 2 steps, actually 3 steps, because there are 3 things happening. One of them is the rate changing. The other one is you are withdrawing an account. So you must take it in 3 steps. So first step, find how much you have after 2 years. Second step, find how much you have after 4 years. And finally, last step, how much you have at the end of the year. For the first interest rate was 11%, simple interest. And then this is 8.5% compounded quarterly, let's say CQ. And this is same 8.5% compounded quarterly. Okay, it's just 3 steps. You need to find A1, A2, A3. Let's talk it like that. You must find how much you have at the end of 2 years. That will be your A1. And after the change, how much you have at the end of 4 years, that is A2. But from A2, we need to subtract 10,000 rand because it is withdrawn. And finally, how much you have at the end of 7 years, after 4 years, after the next 3 years, that is A3. Okay, so this question is like combination of those rules. So that we can do this before starting future and present.